All right, everybody. Hey, welcome to our next installment of the Note Nation Top 40 Tour as we roll into the River City or the Alamo City of San Antonio, Texas. We're honored to have you guys join us live here on Zoom or via Facebook or catch the replays out there as well. So I encourage you to ask questions, comment. Let me know what part of the country to call San Antonio home or other parts of the country. I'd love to know where you guys are at so we can kind of see where our audience is coming from. But always encourage you to ask questions, and whether you ask them live or the replays, we do moderate everything. So we'll be glad to answer your questions back as best we can for you. But anyway, if you guys are joining us for the first time, Note Nation Tour, here is basically 40 of the major markets across the country we're doing virtual tours on as a way to kind of identify opportunities and share with our national list of real estate investors that are either local to a market or national across the country, the different opportunities, what's going on in those markets, and where we foresee the future of real estate being in those specific cities. You guys go to notenationtop40.com to check out the schedule to register individually for specific cities and see which ways we're doing. We're just over the halfway point with San Antonio being, I think, market number 22. We're going to be discussing the statistics and the numbers of the market, what we've seen as far as a variety of things. We'll also talk about the second half outlook and what it's going to hold in store for San Antonio and the SAT Metroplex. We'll talk about future opportunities, where to look for those deals, and how to get started looking at those things. So I want to thank you guys for joining us on here tonight. So let's first of all, if you guys don't know me, I'm Scott Carson. I've been an active real estate investor since 2002. Got over 16 years in the finance, mortgage, and debt markets. I have purchased over $500 million in debt for my own portfolio and another $1.5 billion for other investors. I'm the CEO of WeCloseNotes.com. That's my main website where you can always check out to see what's going on. Been teaching and working with real estate investors how to capitalize on the market since 2004 in a variety of fashions. I am the host of the podcast, the Don't Close the Show podcast. It surpassed 30 million listens on our national radio network, over 600,000 plus downloads. You can listen to this any place that you download podcasts right now. So love for you to listen to it, leave a review, and shoot me a 5-star as well too. But anyway, guys, I invest all across the country, and I'm just up the road, just a mere roughly 100 miles in Austin, Texas, less than a 90-minute drive. I actually called San Antonio home for roughly about a year back in 2011, 12, a little bit back in that time. Really love San Antonio. I think it's a great market to invest with. San Antonio gets a lot of Austin investors investing in San Antonio as well because it's much more affordable and there's abundance of deals compared to the Austin market. But anyway, our mission has always been to help investors to accomplish their goals and dreams and increase their wealth through debt investing. Why debt investing? Because it is definitely a niche, but it's also, I think, one of the most profitable ways to invest in real estate from all across the country, from wherever you're at. It's also one of the easier ways to get into because you don't have a huge amount of overhead. You don't have to spend a lot of money on marketing. It's really a great way to find amazing deals at huge discounts for you on a lot of asset classes. So why am I doing this? Why am I taking time out of my schedule, 40 nights or 40 hours of my life to spend time on 40 different markets? It's because I love helping investors. I love helping people solve problems. I believe that this is the opportunity that many people are looking for. If you missed out on the Great Recession of 2008, 9, and 10, this is the opportunity that only comes around about once every 20, 30 years. And it's opportunity for you guys to really be able to do a lot of good, buy a lot of deals, and make a lot of investments and make some things happen. And I'm also doing this because I was once a distressed borrower back in 2000, 2003 with my primary home and 2 investment properties. I understand and empathize with all the people that are struggling right now, who have been laid off, who are out of work, who are struggling to stay on time, or worried about getting evicted or foreclosed on. And so tonight it's not only just to share a little bit of the opportunity that's available for you guys as investors, but also help educate some of those people out there to help them as well. And because I'm a big believer there's nothing greater than helping someone overcome an obstacle or achieve a goal or dream that they thought was once impossible. For a lot of the homeowners out there that bought their first home as a dream, a lot of that has turned into nightmares for them as they're afraid that the banks are going to show up to either foreclose or kick them out. And so that's an important thing. And I've also set a big goal for myself over the next 12 months to help educate and create 1,000 investors in the next 12 months. And I'd love for you guys that are watching this either on the replay or watching this live, like many of you are, to take part in that, and we'll talk about a little bit of that opportunity later on for you guys. But anyway, where are the opportunities? And I'll tell you right now, the opportunities are freaking everywhere, literally everywhere out there if you know where to look. A lot of people don't know where to look. The media's not talking about it, but it doesn't matter, depending on whatever asset class you're in, whether it's self-storage, apartments, single-family homes, mobile homes, home parks, office space, medical stuff, hotels, motels. There are opportunities and types of deals everywhere. And the beautiful thing, everybody, it doesn't matter what your age group is. It doesn't matter the color of your skin. It doesn't matter what your credit scores look like, your past is, whether you've been an entrepreneur that's done well or failed in the past. Nobody gives a shit about that. And what's going on right now is if you can be coachable and you can do the simple things that we teach people a lot of times to do, you could be very successful and rewrite what you're going through, rewrite the difficulties. So like I said, don't care what your color of skin is. Don't care if you're male, female, whatever it is. I love working with all types of people. And there's no better opportunity than to dive in right now. You don't need to have credit. You don't need to have capital. There are things out there that we can do to teach you how to overcome a lot of that stuff. And really, like I said, it's a total level playing field when it comes to buying debt and being investing out there today. So whatever your goal is, we all have goals. I don't think we all get into fixing, flipping houses or buying debt or real estate to deal with the toilets and tenants or to paint walls or stuff like that, or deal with contractors. God knows I don't like doing that. But we all have a variety of things you want to go, whether it is to retire yourself, maybe retire your spouse, maybe it's to put your kids through school, maybe it's to tell mom or dad, hey, you can stay home when you retire your parents. Maybe it's to travel more, to see some exotic places versus just on a staycation. Maybe it's to other things, upgrade your house, buy a new car, whatever that might be. We know a couple of things. One, it takes money to do that. All right, you got to have cash to be able to do that. And the beautiful thing, everybody, is what's going on right now. The second thing is to be a huge transfer of wealth, and we have helped a lot of people do what we're talking about doing over the last 10 years, and we would love to help you accomplish your goals and dreams out there by just being coachable and learning where the opportunities are. And like I say, they are everywhere, no matter what you're looking for. So let's dive into that. So what do the national numbers say about where we're at as a market right now? Well, we know it's not very pretty in some cases, right? Unemployment rate is right now at 11.1% nationally. All right. New numbers should come out in the next couple of days. All right. Hopefully come out by next week. But we foresee that number staying roughly about the same based on everything that's going on in the country. 40 million people are collecting unemployment right now. Ouch. 52% of small businesses expect to fail, or more than that, as what's going on in the pandemic, stays on and extended and things like that. The sad thing is that before all this happened, 1 out of 10 homeowners were already struggling to stay current before Captain Tricks rolled in. That's right. Back in January, February, early March, 1 out of 10 borrowers was already 30 days behind on their mortgage. Okay. Currently, right now, we are at a national delinquency rate of 7.76. Basically, 1 out of every 12 borrowers is over 90 days in default. That number is going to get worse by all means. All right. 4.1 million Americans are currently in default. Think about that. 4.1 million Americans are currently in default. If you look at history, back in 2008, it took us 18 months, basically the middle of 2009, before we hit 1.6 million. We're already 2.5 times there in a lot faster time frame. So do you think it's going to get bad? Yeah, it's going to get bad out there. It's going to get worse. Yes, we've been able to delay some of the pain with the government stepping in and delaying foreclosures, doing forbearance agreements, kicking the can down the road, would you say? But literally, it's all types of lenders. It's all types of borrowers out there. You've got prime lenders, non-prime lenders, that's the subprime, borrowers struggling on all sorts of things. Default rates increasing 50% over the last couple months. It keeps getting bad out there. And the thing to keep in mind, everybody, is the lenders are bracing for us to see roughly about 15 million mortgage defaults, up to that amount. That's the number that we saw back in 2010 at the peak, was 15 million homeowners were underwater. Now, do I think it'll get that bad? I think we'll see somewhere between 10 and 12. I don't think we'll get all the way to 15. Okay. But that still leaves a lot of people struggling. The more jobs that are going out of business, the more unemployment. It's a paper house that has to come down. The government can't keep printing money. It can't can't keep giving stimulus checks. It just doesn't work that way. So let's talk about the housing hardship index. This is one thing that has been put together that talks about unemployment, default rates, and kind of where each state ranks out there. So Texas, as a whole, is, it's kind of in the middle a little bit, like a lot of others. But Texas ranks actually is a 8.6% unemployment rate. So it's actually better than the national average of 11.1% currently, which is good. That's a good thing, right? Delinquency, though, we're greater, though. We're at 9.57 instead of 7.76. So that's the thing to worry about. The delinquency rate's almost at 10%. Do I think it's going to be that way? I think it's going to get up a little bit more, especially if you start looking at some of the different trends that are taking place in the major metro. Houston, Dallas, Austin, Corpus, El Paso, San Antonio. Texas ranks right at number 19. It's kind of right in the middle there a little bit, in the top 40% of the nation as far as worse off. Not quite. It's, you look at, there's 50 states, we're at number 19. We could be a lot worse. We could be a lot better too. All right. But there's a lot of stuff taking place right now with people being laid off and not paying their mortgage. That's going to lead to things in the near future, both residential and commercial side of things. So if you look at San Antonio and the New Braunfels Metroplex, is kind of ranked as one by the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Basically, San Antonio and the New Braunfels area has roughly basically an 8.5% unemployment rate. That's for June. July's numbers have not been released yet. They should be in the next day or so. It's been nice because it peaked at 13.3 in April, came down a little bit in May, came down roughly about 30% in June. I think it's still going to stay at around 8.5%, 9% unemployment rate in the San Antonio market. Now, if you compare that to what's going on in the San Antonio market, San Antonio area is 8.5, Bexar County 8.8, Comal County 7.4, Guadalupe County 7.1, Medina 7.3. So you can see it's better than the national average, and it's all about the same rough basis there for you. Obviously, Bexar, San Antonio have the bigger, more dense population, so it's a little bit worse than Comal, Guadalupe, Medina County, but it's still a lot of people laid off. Now let's compare it to what's going on in the bigger cities of Texas, so you have a little bit of an idea. So Texas as a whole is 8.6% unemployment rate. All right, San Antonio's 8.5, so it's just right a little bit below the state average. Austin, 7.5%. We haven't been hit as hard as some of the areas here in Austin. Houston, 9.9%. DFW's 8.4. Corpus Christi's at 10.1. All right. El Paso's at 9.9. So you see that Dallas, Corpus, and El Paso are obviously above the average and bringing the numbers up. Well, there's a lot of things that go into that. Tourism, stay-at-home orders, things like that will vary on a city-by-city basis. Furloughs in Houston and in Dallas compared to other places in Corpus. People aren't traveling and your economy is based on the oil or natural gas. Yeah, you're going to have a higher unemployment rate than other places out there. Okay. So just a bit of an idea there why I see Texas having a lot of distress debt, not just San Antonio, not just Houston or Corpus Christi, but we're going to see some stuff struggle. Now, if you look at the numbers right now for Texas, this is for San Antonio. The price point of houses that are hitting the most amount of auction and bank owned right now are in that, as you can see, that $100,000 to $200,000 range, which is pretty much medium price point there for San Antonio first-time home buyers. 200 to 300 is the next heaviest hit. It's not showing pre-foreclosures, obviously, because we're delayed right now for the most part. And I'll cover some of this, but this is for June's numbers. Now, looking at the year built, it's usually basically 1980 or older homes. Obviously, 1950 and above, we're talking. What part of San Antonio is that has a lot of those homes? It's literally a lot in the south side down there. Now, San Antonio has a lower foreclosure rate than a lot of the other major metroplexes out there, one for every 7,800. But the hardest hit, if you are looking for foreclosures, is a 78264 in the south zip code, one in every 700. 78257 is one in every 1,400, which is on the opposite side of San Antonio, up on the north side there. What is that, 1604, up that neck of the woods. You can see that here. You have difference between the haves and the have-nots for sure, okay? between the haves and the have-nots when it comes to this. It's San Antonio for the most part. Now, looking at obviously auctions and are down month over month, year over year. Bank owns have gone up some. It's still a very small sliver because of the numbers, especially now. This is the thing that foreclosure auctions did not drop. Like in most states, they dropped off completely to nothing in March. We still had some that kept rocking and rolling there as people continued to foreclose because they weren't COVID related or why they were in default. But the numbers dropped down in May, dropped down in June. I think it's going to stay flat a little bit, but probably start seeing a spike back again based on what's going on in San Antonio. Obviously, the foreclosure numbers dropped off there by the total number of foreclosures there. You're going to see an increased amount of foreclosures, especially in the San Antonio market and the eviction side of things. Now, Black Knight went out and tracked a lot of these things on a national basis. And when we see serious delinquencies increase 50% month over month, that's across the board, not just in San Antonio, but across the board in a lot of other places. Now, you talk about the national default rate, you're going to probably see a 20% increase month over month on average. It's something that you kind of look at. You see that there's another 4 million homes that aren't in foreclosure yet. We got 4.1 in default. We got another 4.1, 4.2 that are in that 30 to 89 day range that are rolling into that 90-day aspect of things, okay? So you have a second wave of these pre-foreclosures getting ready to be dragged into the market, which will be 8 million homeowners in default for the most part. Now, some of them are going to get caught back up. I get that. If they go back to work, okay, great. We're just going to delay it. But there's a big chunk of people out there that are struggling that haven't gone back to work. We know that. Now, this map kind of shows a heat map of states that have done something to protect their borrowers and delayed things. The dark green are current statewide moratoriums. The light green is current local moratoriums. The very light green is state where evictions have resumed. And then you got to love Texas being in the tan there. No state local moratoriums issued, okay? No state or local. Now, that varies on a city by city basis for the most part. Now, the thing in San Antonio is the Texas Supreme Court issued an order that allowed eviction proceedings in the state to resume effective May 19th. That got pushed out in San Antonio to June, all right, in Bexar County. Evictions in Bexar County paused until June to give them a couple of weeks for people. That gave people another 30 days to get caught back up on. They're afraid that we're going to see this tidal wave of evictions in San Antonio, especially after the federal protections ended 2 weeks ago, which you're going to see that. You're already starting to see evictions start to increase a little bit. People are getting evicted. They don't have, and then the judges, they're not saying that just because you were laid off because of COVID, that's not a good enough excuse to stop the foreclosure, stop the evictions like it is in other states are doing that. Okay? Hey, let's get things rock and rolling. Can't pay, stay, all right? We do everything fast in Texas, and San Antonio's proving that. Whereas like Dallas County, Travis County have delayed it for another 30 days through the end of August. San Antonio's like, nope, let's get rock and rolling back to business, okay? Now, the foreclosure auctions by state is starting to pick back up a little bit. Texas is at about 10% of where it was pre-COVID. We'll get a new map of this probably in the next week or so as well, too, so you can see where the numbers are at for that next time we do it. But that's from auction.com on that. It's all talk about this tsunami of foreclosures as more homes sink underwater. Now, the beautiful thing is that a big majority of the higher value borrowers or the higher value houses have some equity. There's some equity there. But what's not, a lot of the first time home buyers have zero equity. Those are the ones that are struggling the most out there. Now, what type of loans are these people taking when they're getting started? Well, for the most part, when you break it down by loan type, those that are in default right now, the biggest culprit is FHA loans, okay, at just under 10% through June. Now, with an FHA loan is your first-time home buyer for the most part. They bring in 3.5% down. It's not really based that much on FICO. If they've got the financials and stuff like that, great. But they're the most they're the obvious and the easiest ones to hit default because most of these borrowers get in barely. They get financed. And in a lot of the lenders over the past 12 to 24 months have not been very, they've been nice because they've been donating the 3.5% down or giving up to 10%, 10 grand toward closing costs like Bank of America does. That's going to bite you in the butt. When people have no skin in the game, they're not going to pay. They're going to either pick if I keep the houses on, keep in food my belly, or pay the mortgage and go hungry with no power. Well, you know what's winning out there, especially if unemployment benefits are ending The PPP things are falling through. Now, on the opposite side of the scale, your conventional loans are lower at 3.16 default rate. Your VAs are at 4.65. Your other type, all the loan types, 4.36. You can see FHA, first-time home buyers, in that 200 grand or less price point are the ones that are causing the major grief out there. Now, the good thing is that since it's an FHA loan, FHA, the government's giving 6 months forbearance agreements. They're expected to give another 6 months on top of that. So that's going to delay these foreclosures that they're thinking about seeing, because the fact is they're kicking the can down the road. But the bank now have at least 6 months to see who's paying, who's not paying. They're going to cherry pick their portfolio and start moving some of the stuff off their books in the fourth quarter, because they can identify the borrowers that are in forbearance agreements, the borrowers that have other loans, car loans, medical debt, credit cards, other loans that they're paying, or they've called in, hey, can we delay things for a while? The ones that are the biggest delayed are the ones that are probably going to look to move. Currently, right now, we're seeing about 4.24 million Americans on forbearance agreements right now. Experts, economists say there's probably another 4 million out there that haven't called, that need to, that just have avoided picking up the phone. That leads to that roughly that 8 million number that we're talking about. Unfortunately, the good thing is that the numbers of forbearance plans go down a little bit each week. But as we see people getting delayed, if we have to shut down the state again, like they're talking about doing, if we continue to see numbers increase, hey, who knows what's going to happen? That number may spike as well. Now, is this good news or bad news? Well, the good news, if you're an investor, is that Texas has a little bit higher default rate versus the national average, 7.76. We talked about 8.5, okay? We do have one of the shortest foreclosure timeframes in the country. So if you're an investor, you're going to see some opportunities there, okay? Now, Texas, if you're an FHA borrower, you can basically drag it out to 390 days or further. If you're a non-government-backed loan, you're seeing 21 days to foreclose. So the thing to keep in mind is if you're a renter, or you basically have taken a property over via owner financing, or you're not in a non-government loan, some of the borrowers, some of the lenders are being lenient on some things, but at some point you got to pay the piper, and we're going to see some stuff hit. But the backlog of forbearance agreements, the backlog of delays, you're going to see an increase in bankruptcy filings as people hang on to their house in a variety of fashions. It's going to drag some things out. It's going to be a while, 12 to 24 months probably before we start seeing more of the foreclosures and the REOs hit the market that a lot of people are like hoping for right now. We're not going to see that immediately through this year, probably not to the middle, if not the end of next year for the most part. Why? Because most of the banks are kicking the can down the road, or they're going to be doing some other things. Now, what about the commercial debt? All right. Commercial's also been hit heavily. We are seeing obviously increased rents. For rent signs. Businesses are filing bankruptcy. Vacancies increasing across the board. Businesses are going out of business at a record rate. They expect us to be probably 52-60% of small business by the year end if it drags on. Okay. You know, commercial real estate has really, I think, been overvalued the last 2 years. But everybody keeps diving on, oh, commercial, it keeps going to keep going up. And I've been like, pull back. Don't buy at the peak, buy it when it's down. Don't buy it, but a lot of people have been buying, and a lot of the banks have been financing this stuff, okay? Now, looking at the breakdown of what kind of default rates we're seeing across asset classes and delays, this is kind of an average. So like lodging, we know hotels, motels in the tourism field, San Antonio's got a lot of hotels, big defaults. Basically 27% across the board of all hotels, 1 out of every 4 is in default. Retails basically say it's 15, 16, 17, sometimes up to 19% by the end of July. Okay. Your restaurant space is seeing peaks. Retail office space also been doing it. Student housing is seeing a spike there. You know, the thing you got to keep in mind, everybody, is it depends on what's going on in the market. Some cities are going to be hit hard. They talk about that in San Antonio, office may not be too much of a difficult, but in such a call center driven area, which is one of the biggest things that San Antonio is known for in the commercial side of things, is if you got people working from home, a lot of companies are going to be downsizing their office space because if you can work remote, and they expect stuff to sit like that. At least there's a lot of companies saying, hey, expect to work from home at least through June of next year. All right. Now, While San Antonio isn't one of the higher top 15 areas by delinquent balance, that's a beautiful thing. We still think San Antonio's going to probably come in there somewhere between $750 million in commercial mortgage-backed security defaults. Okay, they've got some stuff: hotels, office space, resorts, golf courses, other places out there that are struggling. You look at what's going on in Dallas and Houston. San Antonio is not too far behind when it comes to the amount out there. Now, let's talk about some of those numbers. We talked about how 1 in 4 hotels are in default. You see this across the board. Hotels are already starting to sell the paper. The mortgages are already starting to sell somewhere around 50 cents on the dollar or less in different parts of the country. Some places like New York, it's like 20 cents on the dollar. Okay. 1 in 5 retail loans are in default. They expect half the malls to be out of business and not recover for the most part, which really is a surprise. You look at some of the big box stores, the Sears, the JCPenney, the Kmart's, we know those have been struggling for a while now, okay? But we're expecting to see office vacancy to increase to roughly 20% nationwide. We're expecting to see at least vacancies on restaurant and real estate space to be at 15 to 20% at least by year end, if not more. That's not saying operating, it just means total vacant. They've been moved out, they've given up the host, given up the ghost and moved on. We're expecting to see commercial rents drop at least by 10% by year end, and that number to continue to decline moving into 2021 at 15 to 20% less for rents. So that's one thing. If you're looking at the commercial space, there's some opportunity there, but you can't base your numbers, your cap rates, your cash flow off of these pre-2020. You got to take that number and multiply it times 0.8, to expect to even be close to what market. You're going to have to be, a lot of landlords are struggling right now. Do I evict and then try to get somebody else in there, maybe vacant for a while, or do I try to work with the borrowers out there? Sometimes it's depending on how it's financed, the banks may not be willing to negotiate because they've got their own numbers they got to stick at as well. Okay. Article San Antonio News talked about they don't think that the office space is going to take as big a hit, maybe only 10% compared to 20% in San Antonio, whereas the rest of the country is going to be hit a little bit harder. What you have to realize when it comes down to it, it's not all the big guys in Wall Street that finance a lot of this stuff. While it was beforehand, going back to 2008, where you had CMBS guys that were financing 60, 70% of it. These days, your traditional banks have financed much more than this, like 53, 54% of the distressed stuff right now. So banks are on the hook for a lot of stuff. Now with the commercial space, there's no bailouts. You're not seeing, 6-month forbearance agreements. There's no government-backed commercial loans, okay? And the banks, when they're financing assets, okay, they're not usually going to go above 70% LTV, okay? They're usually going to say somewhere around 70%, 60 to 70%. They're going to make the investor or the person buying the property to either bring something down, okay? Now, what happens? Well, when you have rents drop off, or borrowers stop paying, or your tenants stop paying you, that reduces your cash flow. You have increased foreclosures. That reduces the value. Your NOI drops. Now the banks are no longer at 70 or 65%. Now they're at 75, 80, 85% of market value. Now they may give the borrower 6 months or more to do some stuff with, but you're going to see happen is there's going to be some capital calls. The banks are going to be calling the borrowers and say, listen, you're above 70% LTV. I need you to bring 5, 10, 15% in to pay down this loan so that we're comfortable at 70%. Well, most people don't have that extra money. Okay. They just don't have it. So you're going to see maybe quite a bit of performing defaults. We're already seeing this where there's a hot list of larger commercial properties across the country that are on the hot list that they're watching for defaults. And the thing that you're going to see out there is it's just, they don't have the same incentives to clear the stuff out immediately. They're going to take some time, but when it comes into the fourth quarter, the banks are like, I got to move this stuff now. The government's giving the banks a little bit of time with their numbers, saying, okay, you don't exactly have to have the reserves right now, but here in the next 90 to 120 days, you need to do something. So it's up to investors like you and me, the Tonys, the Corys, the Johns, the Sam, the Georges, the Timothy, the Sandras. It's up to people like us to come in, buy some of this debt at a discount, because then if we're buying it at a discount of what's owed, we can be a lot more flexible by either working out with some of the bad loans or taking the property back and trying to reposition it, sell it off, hold on to it for a while. and ride the wave back up, because it's going to take 12 to 24 to 36 months for us to start getting close back to where it was beforehand. But if you bought it cheap, bought the debt cheap and worked with the borrower, as you get them back on if they get back on their feet and start paying on time or adjusting things, you will reevaluate the value through your NOI, and that values will increase over time. So you may be at 50% of value now, but in a short period of time, you may end up at 30, 40% of value, because the values go up when you work on stuff, okay? Now, we all know the banks have bitten off more than they can chew. They stand to lose roughly about $48 billion on just commercial real estate loans, okay? $48 billion just on the commercial side of things. Now, some of the biggest guys out there that are struggling the most is like Bank of America. They announced about a week and a half ago on the 16th of July that they're putting away reserves because they have a $5.1 billion hit coming to their books on their bad loans. Wells Fargo's got a bunch of this stuff on their books too. American Express, insurance companies that finance this stuff. They've got some of this stuff they got to get off their books over the next 6 months, okay? Or the next 4 months before the end of the year rolls around. So the last thing they want, they've already taken a big hit in their shares plunging because they know and now they've got this big amount of stuff due. That's us. That's like a bell ringing for us as investors. Say, hey, guess what? The United States is on sale. Time to go shopping and pull some money together, because there's a lot of money sitting on the sidelines not making anything happen. All right, so where are the opportunities? Is it the foreclosure REO market? We know it's not that, because those things are going to drag out. You're not going to see this stuff for 12 to 24 months, okay? Fix and flip side, I don't want to be in the fix and flip side right now at all, because the fact is mezzanine lenders, hard money lenders are drying up. They're putting back their requirements because they realize we're going to see some of these foreclosures over the next 6 to 12 months. Rentals, I don't want to be in the toilets tenants, okay? I don't want to be in the short-term rental market. Airbnb, the CEO announced, I think today or yesterday, that 6 years of growth was wiped out in 6 weeks. Where they're at now is back to when they basically began, because that market has been hit so dramatically. It's not saying people aren't making. I've got some friends that do have some Airbnbs and some stuff areas, especially rural areas or outside the bigger towns, that have done well. But a lot of people don't have that. Okay, you can't travel, can't fly. Other places they're going to hit. The real opportunities lie for those that are going to get in the paper game, get in the debt game. You're buying the debt, and literally, we're already starting to see some of this stuff now on the residential side. I'm already getting phone calls, emails sent, some portfolios on some residential notes. We'll see a lot of this in the fourth quarter, because the banks would have had 6 months at that point to evaluate the portfolios, like I talked about earlier, and move the stuff off their books they think is going to be the riskiest borrowers, okay? Commercial notes, we're already seeing this quarter. Several of my buddies on Wall Street in California, some of these bigger funds, are already talking about that they're seeing more deals come across their desk in the last 60 days than they saw in the last 2 to 3 years, okay? And they're seeing some big stuff. They're also seeing not some big stuff. They're getting phone calls from banks. And the beautiful thing is, if you know how to reposition an asset, you can really do some damage. Now, here's an example of a bigger reposition. A guy up in Arlington, Illinois, took this hotel and repositioned it as apartments and was able to sell it. It's a beautiful place. Check it out at One Arlington online. You can see all the pictures of it, but it's done a great job in taking what could have been a very bad lemon, especially when a lot of hotels that size are shutting down for 2 months, 30 days or longer, laying off a huge amount of their staff. It's already repositioned as a residential asset. Maybe you can turn it into apartments, and that's done well. Our buddy Garrison Gilbert is doing this in Pennsylvania right now, taking a 55-unit hotel and turning it into 42-bedroom apartments. How many smaller hotels does San Antonio have? A ton of them that are struggling. A ton of them, either chain or non-chain or independently owned, that are struggling, okay? And, man, it's a lot of opportunity. If you want to get in apartments, great. That might be a way for you to dive into it, because there is a big need for multifamily in the San Antonio market. Office space, we know it's been hit. This is what somebody did in Denver. They took their 110-unit office space that was all 10 by 10 offices and converted it into self-storage. Brilliant idea. And then they're selling the asset off at a price it's ridiculous. We've actually got a bid on it right now to take it over, because he was able to find an opportunity in the downtown area that needs self-storage, not much around there, and get it basically occupied there. It may not be getting as much on the monthly rent, but based on its cost and based on what the operating costs that they're able to slash, because now they don't need multiple staff, need 1 or 2 full-time staff members, boom, turning lemons into lemonade, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. As my buddies have been saying, and I've been saying this for a while, because I saw this 10 years ago, the biggest opportunity for local real estate investors or investors like you and me that understand the local markets, we have our local teams there, is that commercial debt, commercial real estate at the 2.5 million or less number. 2.5 million of value or less, because that's the stuff that's clogging up the banks the most. That's what's clogging up their arteries. The big guys don't want to buy that stuff for the banks because it's too small for them. They want to look at 5 million or greater. Anything below 5 million, especially 2.5 million, that's prime assets, and that's what the banks have financed the big majority. All sorts of banks, as an ex-banker, that's what they drilled in our head at Chase. Hey, go out, look for that $1 million loan, that $2.5 million property, so we can get financing on it. And you see all these signs: financed by IBC Bank, financed by Eagle Bank, Falcon Bank in the New Braunfels, San Antonio area. I know this because I've been tracking this stuff, everybody. Okay, if you can buy this debt and be flexible with the tenants or the borrowers, you can come out smelling like roses and picking up an asset well below value, hold on to it for 2 to 3 years. As the value comes up, refinance out, pull some capital out. What a great way to really be able to do some good these days. That is where we're going to see a ton of stuff in this whole Texas market. All the major cities in Texas have this stuff that's just sitting there, and the banks are like, you want to buy something? Okay. You may not have to buy it all. Buy something. Now, banks in trouble. Are the banks in trouble in Texas? Heck yeah. Texas has long been a very good state for banks to, banking's always been a big asset class of companies are doing here. Now, we pull a quarter report called Bauer Financial. You can go online, BauerFinancial.com, and Bauer Financial ranks and classifies banks and credit unions, and they take a look at their books. Because banks have to file a quarterly report with the FDIC to tell them where they're at. Well, Bauer, we actually can buy this list and see exactly, it's like them opening up the kimono, what type of default rates they have, how much they have in 90 plus days, how much they have on the roll, what their commercial loans look like, how much in single family homes are in default, the percentages, all across the board. All right. Now, there are thousands of banks on this list, and we all know that there's thousands of banks that lend in Texas. But out of the list, when we filter down by those that call Texas truly home, there are 128 of these banks based in Texas. Now, 128, they're not just lending in Texas, but they give you a bit of an idea of the struggle. Out of the 128 banks, there's $2 billion plus in 90-day defaults right now, $2 billion in value, and over another $1.6 billion that is ready to roll into that default rate. So roughly somewhere between $3.6 billion just in these banks out there. Now, that averages out about 5% of each bank's loans being past due. That means every bank's got something. We all see that. Out of that amount, there's 500 million in single family homes. That's why a lot of this is still on the commercial side. Okay. Yes, they've got single family homes they want to get off their books that are not government backed. Okay. But they got a lot of commercial stuff. So there's opportunity in both camps. The biggest two, Beal Bank has 122 million in just single family loans. They got 38% of their portfolio is in 90-day defaults. Okay. Now, Plains Capital Bank in Texas has 101 million in defaults. 12% of their portfolio is in default. Okay. I could go on with other banks out there as well too, but I don't have all night for that stuff. But we see this stuff with the Bauer Financial list, and it's well worth it because it allows for us to identify not just those banks, but others that also have stuff on their books they look to get rid of. It makes it our prospecting much easier to really find deals and find banks that have stuff more than just one asset, the stuff that we can take a look at every 30, every 60, every 90 days and go from there. So why would you want to look at buying distressed? I get this question quite a bit. First and foremost, if you're an investor, you can start doing deals now. We're sitting around waiting for the REOs. The closer you are to the origination side, the closer you are to the bank, the sweeter the deals are, the bigger the discount you get as well, versus waiting until it becomes an REO and the bank has no incentive to discount at that point. They'd rather say, hey, we've got these costs. Boom, it is what it is. And we all know that REOs and foreclosures aren't nearly as cheap as they used to be because there's a lot less inventory of those, okay? You can purchase this debt at significant discounts, depending on the location, the foreclosure time frame, the values, the condition, what's going on in that asset class, how big it is, how small it is, the motivation of the bank by what else they have on their books that they got to get rid of. I've had banks literally in the last couple of weeks, like send me a list like, I can't buy it all. They're like, oh no, just buy something. Just buy something, please. Okay. You can purchase a debt and control the asset for huge discounts. Like I said, 30 to 70% of purchase of what's owed gives you a lot of flexibility to work it out with the borrower to get a really great return on investment for you. Or you can do one of a variety of different strategies: loan reinstatement, modification, short sales, short payoffs, foreclosures, loan sales, deed loans, borrower files bankruptcy. That works in our favor. Okay. Because then it's either going to be a reinstatement of some sort of a loan mod or liquidation of debt and a variety of things. So you can also, a lot of times in the commercial debt space, start taking over rents if they do file bankruptcy. That's the thing that we've done quite a bit in the past. Take over the note and turn it into a cash flow performing note if you want to do that, or if you want to hold on to the asset and ride the wave back up as it increases in value as we get through this over the next 12 and 24 months. Great, there you go. Do what you want. You have to realize, everybody, there's a lot of advantages. I mean, that, you know, a lot more deals is one of the big things. Now, the thing is, we don't send any direct mail out. We're not dropping thousands of dollars each month on postcards or yellow letters. We don't do that. We, like I said before, if you can send emails, you can jump on LinkedIn, or you can pick up the phone and dial these banks that we show you how to find. You can find deals. I know there's a lot of investors out there that are struggling. There's a lot of homeowners out there struggling. They don't have an extra $500 or $1,000. If you got an email, LinkedIn account, and can pick up the phone, you can do this business like we've been doing for the last 12 years, okay? And the beautiful thing is one source, like one bank, doesn't just send one deal and that's it. They're going to send you a regular deal flow, 100, 200, 30. It's just not going to be one property and start all over again. The source will feed you over and over and over again, so you don't have to do a lot of marketing once you start building some great lead sources. And then, like I said, you could cherry pick the best deals for your portfolio. If you want to buy in bulk, you'll get better pricing the more you can buy. That's the beautiful thing. Now, some people say, well, Scott, what if I just want to do residential? Okay, just do residential. Well, I want to do commercial. Great, just do commercial. Commercial is going to take a little bit longer to close because there's more due diligence. But still, hey, everything's on sale. Hey, Kmart shoppers, we have a blue light special for Texas on the commercial aisle. Blue light special, commercial aisle, everybody. Okay? Now, people tell me, well, Scott, I don't have $500,000. I don't have $2.5 million in my own funds. That's fine. You can go raise capital from other investors. The beautiful thing, especially in the commercial note side of the business, is when you get over that $1 million value, a lot of times the banks are very open to them carrying that financing for you, taking a bad note, turn it back into a performing note if you're taking over the asset and going from that route. Now, guys and gals, if there were 15 million homes underwater in 2010, they're predicting that now, and you were alive, an investor back then, I think often the biggest regret that I've talked to is that people didn't buy. They didn't buy as many deals as they should have when everything was on sale. We're going to see very similar numbers like we saw 10 years ago. The question is, are you going to get off your butt and go do something? Are you going to let your fears stop you from taking action? It's up to you. You can be sitting here and next time this happened, man, I should have acted in 2020. Well, baby, hindsight is 2020, and we've got the foresight, hopefully, to see what's going to happen in the next 12 to 24 months because we've been through this before, everybody, okay? And there are plenty of investors out there, okay? San Antonio has a lot. There's $9 trillion in investment funds, retirement funds sitting out there making basically nothing, all right? And one of the things that we do is we actually will track and can pull investors in specific counties and areas. Now, in San Antonio, there are currently 18,000 investors that have an IRA, an individual retirement account. There's more than that has a 401k. But right now, there's 18,000 investors in San Antonio area with an IRA. Now, out of that 18,000, there are 12,000, 2/3, 67%, have at least 150 grand or more in their accounts. At least 150 grand or more now. We can track that. Names, phone numbers, emails, addresses. Okay. Now, if you don't want to raise capital, because God knows it would take you to talk to what, 6 people roughly, or to actually have conversations with 6 or 7 people, probably to raise $1 million. If you're scared to talk to people about money, then just reach out to the other 24,000 real estate investors in San Antonio who are looking for deals. Be a deal engineer. Find the deals, find the investors, put it together, sandwich yourself in the middle, wholesale the deal, make 5%, 1%, whatever you might be. You could do that if you didn't want to raise capital. All right. Plenty of opportunity to do that there, guys. There's trillions and billions of dollars in debt, plenty of investor money out there, plenty of deals. You just have to figure out how you put yourself in the middle and start finding the deals. There's capital out there. And the beautiful thing, if you're looking at commercial debt, the banks will give you more time for due diligence. They're going to give you 30, 60, 90 days for due diligence because that's what they expect. If you can't raise money in 90 days for a commercial project, you're probably just not marketing. And the question is, guys, as a real estate investor, do you want to be the banker or the borrower? A lot of people, when they get into buying the house and borrow the money, getting a bank loan or hard money loan, you're not the bank, you're the borrower. You're paying out. I mean, all of us are in the note business. You're just paying out monthly on the wrong side of the payment stream. You're paying to your mortgage. You're paying to your car payment. You're paying to the credit cards, student loan debt, okay? Medical bills, whatever. The pen is always mightier than the hammer, guys. That's why the banks always win. That's why being the bank is the best to be. They're not in the fix and flip business. They're not in the rental business. They're not in the Airbnb business. Banks are in the paper business. That's where they make their money. They understand arbitrage. They understand compounding interest. And that's why if you can become the bank and the lender, booyah, baby. That's where the real money is at. That's where true, I will tell you this, financial independence. All the investors that have been around for years, you don't see a lot of people that are just sitting around, oh, I have 1 million doors that I operate. No, if you don't have a team, most of the investors out there are in the funding side of the bank side, because that's the easiest thing. And they're dealing direct. They've got their sources. They've got cash flow. They're building wealth while also building monthly cash flow on a variety of things. Okay. So how do you tap in the tsunami of deals, everybody? Look, we're here to help you. I've been teaching investors about notes since 2010. I've bought, like I said, over $500 million from my own portfolio. I've helped thousands of investors purchase their first non-performing note and dive into the space. Whether it was residential or commercial notes, I've done it both. And I've had my spidey sense going off for the last 24 months expecting something like this to happen. You can't keep going up. It's physically, we've been 2 years, 3 years overdue for correction. We didn't just have a slight correction. We had a major impact take place, everybody. Life-changing wealth is going to be transferring hands over the next 2 years. How much of it do you want? Do you want cash flow, or do you want to add assets to your bottom line? That's fine. If you want to just buy some one-offs or get a little bit bigger and go on the bulk side, great. You can do that. You can do smaller trades. We've done smaller trades all the time, 25 grand, like one-off deals, or all the way up to 5 million or more. Okay. From a one-off note, $7 to the, a one asset for 4 million. There's a lot of different things out there depending on what your flavor is. Okay. And I don't care, like I said before, I don't care what your credit is. The bank's not going to look at your credit. You're not taking out a loan with them. All they want to know is that you can fund the deal. All that they know is you can finish the thing. And there's never been a better opportunity to dive in what's going on, guys. Because in the note space, there's plenty of people to help you out there. You don't have to have, you're not the one going out and knocking on the door. You're not the one calling the bar. You're not the one going to the foreclosure auctions to foreclose. There are professionals out there. So all you've got to do is go find the deal, go find the money if you need to, or go find the investors to take the deals off your hands. You start doing this all, guys. Email, LinkedIn, phone. You don't need to send out bandit signs. You don't need to send out yellow letters or postcards to get a 1% to 4% response rate. All right. Dial 50 phone calls in 2 hours. You'll probably find 3 or 4 sources just in an afternoon. Okay. So like I said, whatever your focus is, single family homes, apartments, hotels, retail, office, storage, mobile home parks, whatever it is, the asset class that you like, there are deals in every asset class. And the beautiful thing is, and there's no better way to do what we're doing now, because the fact is that you can really create some win-win scenarios. Win for you, win for the banks, win for the borrowers by you coming in and buying that debt and being able to work with them to keep them in the property, to keep them in the asset, okay? And it's whether you're dealing with, salt of the earth, blue collar, white collar, no collar individuals, they want to stay in their house. Most Americans want to stay and want to work with you. They've worked hard. It's not their fault COVID kicked in and the values are dropped or foreclosures are increasing, they've been laid off. Most of them are trying to do whatever they can to make ends meet. They just need a hand up. And the banks that finance this stuff aren't always willing to do that. They're going to kick the can down the road. And then in 6 months after the first round, they've been able to evaluate who has been paying, who's not paying, who's on the naughty or nice list. And they're going to get rid of the naughty ones that aren't paying. And that's an opportunity for us to step in to help people of all asset class, all backgrounds, whether you're looking at smaller houses or 3-1s, or you're looking at some high-end stuff like beachfront property. We can all know that's going to be at a discount right now, especially in the tourist areas. Or you're looking for apartments or hotels, whatever it might be, you can find that stuff. You just got to know where to look. And you can do it big or you can do it small. All right. You can start off small. Like most investors start off pretty small, like our buddy Gene here. Gene started off buying a few assets here and there in Elkhart, Indiana, where he's at. It's his home city, driving all across the state and other states, being a hotshot driver. We spent some time with him, got him trained, learned how to reach out to banks directly to find better deals in some of our different sources, and honored that he sent me a text message about 3 weeks ago saying, hey, Scott, really excited. I just closed on my 135th asset. I've got over 13 million in private money and other people's money invested with me that we're looking at deals, and we're really going to doing some good. I'm gonna make over 7 figures, and just absolutely proud of Gene. It's a whole lot different than what he was doing 4 years ago because he was coachable and he learned and to do exactly what we do. And you also talk about like Laura Blanc. Laura's done an amazing job as well. She started off like many investors like you guys. Many people are trying to wholesale, trying to do some subject to deals, trying to do some light flips with whatever capital they have. They go to all these workshops to put another tool in their tool belt. Well, we're like the all-in-one tool, everybody. You don't need all this other stuff if you're a note investor. And Laura's proved it right. She closed on basically 14, 15 deals in her first 18 months. She's done well. Fast forward a couple of years. I think she's been around for about 4 years now, closed on over 100 deals, and is getting ready to close on a $4 million portfolio with over 100 assets. Performing notes that she's picking up at 53 cents of the UPB. She's picking up 50 cents of what's owed, and there's equity on top of all that. It's a phenomenal deal, and she's using other people's money to take it down. Just an absolutely great deal. You'd be like Keith Collins at Ohio. Got a lot of experience in real estate. Got a lot of, I think he was even a mayor of a small town in Ohio at one point. Worked in the city government, creating water treatment plants and other things, fixing flips. He got in the note business a couple years ago from taking our training and learning it, and he has just skyrocketed. Absolutely done a great job. He sent me an email and said, Scott, I'm going to make 7 figures in 2019 before this all started. Now he's all talking to me. He's like, man, I'm excited. I'm going to make another 7 figures in 2020 because of the opportunities that exist. And he goes, thank you, Scott, for your training. Because it's your training that taught us how to do this, how to find these deals, and how to avoid all the other investors out there that are waiting for REOs or fighting over scraps. I can do all this stuff from my home, and it gives retirement a whole different type of name. Now, all 3 of these people had experience. I mean, we've helped thousands of investors. I'm just trying to give you a bit of a flavor here. But if you have no experience, you can do this too. Kind of like our buddy Rafael here out of San Diego. He doesn't own a house, never bought a house, never flipped a property before. He's like, San Diego's too damn expensive, Scott. But he's always been interested in real estate. All right, so he took our training, brand new, very green. In his first 30 days, he bought 2 deals. In his first 60 days, he bought 5 deals total. The first 2, he got reperforming at a 20% cash and cash return. He sold 2 out of the 3 so far, doubled his money, doing a great job. Now, unfortunately, I mean, he's a small business owner in San Diego. He owned a detailing business, car detailing business. 15 full-time employees he had to lay off because of COVID. He's very thankful he learned the note business because it gave him something else to do. It gave him a side hustle that's now become his main hustle. He goes, Scott, I'm not worried about not having to reopen back up if I never reopen back up because I found something new that I'm excited about. I just talked to him today, and he's selling one of his assets off and just doing a great job. So like I said, I don't care whether you're brand new to real estate or you've got some experience. If you're coachable, notes are an option for all of you. You just got to know what to do. It's different in the note space than it is in the fix and flip, the rental space. It's a different mindset, different mentality. But we have helped hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and thousands of people over the last decade take their businesses to whole new levels, who have closed on a ton of deals and made a big impact. And how they do that? They took our training. And what's our training start off with? Guess what, guys? Hey, like I said, we have a big goal to help 1,000 people in the next 12 months. And a lot of that they're going to start off with by taking our 1-day class called Note Weekend. It's a very, I won't say basic because a lot of our students love it, but it's a 1-day class to kind of dip your feet in the water and see if note investing is for you. It's not expensive. It's not a big investment because it may not be for you. And note investing is not for everybody. I'll tell you that right now. Okay. But the way we teach and the way that we show people how to do the note business makes them successful if they're coachable and they take action. You can go to noteweekend.com and get signed up right now. We got some amazing bonuses lined up for you guys. Now, what is this? Basically, we do a live stream on Saturday. Yours truly teaching all day Saturday with you. We take a couple of breaks, but literally it's me going through a mini workshop. You're not going to learn everything about the note business in one day, let alone a 3-day workshop, but this is a great starting point. Like I said, we live stream on Saturday. The replays are available on Sunday. So if you got to step away, got something planned on Saturday, you can watch on Sunday. I stay around basically and help you answer and teach basically the cliff notes of note investing. We include a 20+ page manual for you to go through. We usually run at least from 9 to 3. Sometimes we'll go to 9 to 6. It just depends on how many questions, what the conversation is. Like I said, normally $99. We've cut the price in half to $49 for you. Okay. And we've got, like I said, one in just a couple of weeks. We usually do it the 3rd Saturday of the month for the most part. We usually do them 8 to 9 times a year. We've got one in August, one in September. I think we're going to do another one in October, or have a 3-day class in October. Waiting to see what the numbers come out here in the next 60 to 90 days before we dive into some things. But guys, I would love for you guys to be a part of this. If you're curious about what we teach, basically, here's kind of what we go over. The very first part of the day is how and where to find the notes. You'll walk out, if you'll get from sitting at home in front of your computer with me live, not replayed, but live is me teaching through this, how to find over 2,000 contacts immediately that you can reach out to start calling, okay? For deals right now, where to find, what to say, what not to say, how to get deals sent to you. We'll also talk about how to raise capital, how to find investors to fund your deals with OPM, other people's money out there. We talked about some of those numbers beforehand. Whether you're in San Antonio or in other areas of the country, we'll find investors in every county, every city in the country, okay? We'll talk about the different exit strategies and how to make money. If your note is a deal or a dud, what deals to avoid, what deals to look at, how to break down the list that the banks are going to send you from the good deals to the ones that maybe are the nuggets that most people overlook. We'll talk about different ways to make money in that. We'll also talk about the different vendors and team members. I think we've got over 10 hours of other video training for you to watch on vendors and some of the strategies that we do to help you understand things. So you can actually, it's like, oh, that makes sense. Okay, that's why I'll use that. You're not alone in this business. That's the beautiful thing. Vendors are here to help you to do your note business, okay? We'll also talk about some of the loan trading platforms that you can look at assets right now, both residential and commercial deals. We'll talk about those ones. We'll talk about where we have bought, where we haven't bought, but what's available out there for you guys to take a look and start doing deals now versus waiting around. We'll also dive into other things, other questions along the way. Like I said, I'm here and I stay till I answer every question for you guys out there. It's a great one-day course. People love it because it's like, oh, this is a great learning. I now have an idea. I now have a grasp on it. No, it's not a pitch fest. If you want to, you can upgrade. We'll allow you to apply the $49 to any of our future trainings as well. But guys, $49, trust me, I way over deliver for $49. And you can go to noteweekend.com, check out the full schedule. We've broken down basically every 30 minutes for you. But if that's not enough, I'm gonna throw in some bonuses for you, okay? The bonuses are well over $1,000, guys, okay? First of all, you get the class at half price. Secondly, I'm gonna throw in a 1-day, basically it's about a 4 to 5 hour training call with me. So a fly on the wall via Zoom of me actually calling banks. That's right. You get to hear me making phone calls, conversations, see who I'm calling. You hear the conversations back and forth whether I get hung up on or cussed out on, or the deals that I find. That's an amazing thing. That's $49 by itself. That's per person. Okay, that's thrown in. Okay, we're going to give you the Bauer financial list, which is at least a $360 value based on a quarterly thing. That's worth just signing up just to get that list so you can see the list of who to call and start reaching out to. Okay, that's thrown in there. All right, we'll also give you a 30-minute one-on-one phone call with me afterwards. I charge $1,000 for consulting. We do a 30-minute phone call. It's a $500 value. That's to just sit down with you really fast and say, where do you want to go? What do you think? What's your next step? Where should you be focused? What do you want to do? I love doing that with people. That's a great way to do that, but we throw that in there as well, so you're off and running in the right direction. Okay? We also throw in the replays. We talked about this. If you've got a spouse or business partner that you share a bed, blood, or an LLC with, you can comp them in. That's included. We also have a really great private Facebook group with a lot of members. There are about 900 members. That's a great place to literally network, ask questions, bounce ideas off each other, find other investors to fund your deals, have other people to maybe look at deals. We got some people that have deals on there from time to time as well. Just a great group. That's included as well. So over $1,000 in bonuses, that's thrown in there. All this plus the class, everybody, for just $49. It's not meant to be a budget breaker. It's also not meant to be free. Free has no value in real estate, everybody. And I want to have a little bit of investment on your side to make sure you show up if I'm going to take 8 hours of my Saturday to spend it with you and helping you train and helping you learn about the note business. So like I said, guys, $49, noteweekend.com. I would love for you to be there. I'd love for you to be a part of the 1,000 because like I said before, whatever your goal is, if it is to retire and tell your boss to take this job and shove it, or not worry about being furloughed or laid off, if it's to take your wife out or your husband out and retire them because they're working their ass off, great. If it's to basically put your kids through school because they don't know what the heck they're going to do, great. All right. Maybe it's to retire your mom or dad because they're still working in their 60s, 70s, or 80s. We don't want that. Maybe it's to travel more, to take the vacation, to get the heck out of Dodge so that your vacations are actually a vacation versus a staycation. God knows we've all had long enough staycations these days, the last 5 months. I'm ready for some international travel. But maybe you just need to upgrade. Maybe you want a better house, better car, better toys. That's great. But it takes cash to do this. It takes cash. And we help a lot of people make a lot of money in the note business by teaching them how to do this. So if you really are interested in making some significant changes to your income or to your real estate business, or really start diving and do something that you can actually sink your teeth into and make wealth with, you're going to create wealth with it. It's not a get rich quick by any means at all. It takes work, it takes being coachable, it takes showing up and doing some of the things. But if you've got 10 hours a week, 15, 20, great. We can get you rock and rolling. And we'd love for you guys to be a part of that for just $49. So if you go to noteweekend.com, guys, and get signed up tonight, we would love to have you be a part of it. Like I said, not meant to be difficult. It's meant to help you take your business to the next level. So guys and gals, love for you to be a part of that 1,000 this next 12 months. But like I said, get signed up tonight. You get this, you get the bonuses sent to you. We have another thing here too, guys. If you decide to cancel, say, listen, I went through this, it's not for me, full money back guarantee. Okay. Now, if I send you the discount, especially the Bauer list, then you're not going to get you're not going to get back. But I don't usually send the Bauer list till the day after the workshop so that you guys can understand what we're looking at. We go through it. If you go through the class, say, Scott, this is not for me. Hey, no biggie. I'll refund your $49 back. No questions asked. Okay. But would love for you guys to be a part of it. Guys, get signed up at noteweekend.com. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. Whether you're on here live with me tonight or you're watching this on the replay, ask a question. Jump on, schedule a phone call, talk with scottcarson.com. And I'd be glad to talk with you and see if note investing is something that, hey, you want to add to your investment portfolio. But thank you guys so much for taking roughly an hour out of your time to join with us tonight on the Note Nation Top 40 Tour. And I look forward to hopefully seeing you at the next Note Weekend class on a Saturday near you. So. Have a great week. Be safe. And we'll see you all at the top, everybody. Bye.